Today we're reviewing the Sideshow Elektra Premium Format variant. That's right, this is Marvel's Elektra. She has a huge comic book history, but she's specifically known for her role as a secondary character in a lot of Daredevil comics, films, and even TV shows. Her real name is Elektra Natchios, and a little known fact is she was actually born where the power was out. That's how she got the name Elektra Natchios. Another little known fact, most of the stuff you hear online is totally made up. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Extreme channel. Today, as I said, we're looking at Sideshow's premium format. That's a fancy word for a 1/4 scale statue, Elektra. Now this is the variant. What that means is Sideshow actually released this piece a while ago. You can see pictures of it right here. They had a regular version and an exclusive. The regular version, I believe, had the size just like this, and then the exclusive had some sword options, but she was in her traditional red costume. As you see here, she is in a black costume. So a variant is when they remake a statue. Most of the time, they're going to change something very small. In this particular case, obviously the paint scheme. Now I have a very cool Daredevil, Shadowlands, Punisher type setup. And I've always wanted the original version of her, but I practice #restraint. Now I'm also a big fan of Shadowlands. As you may have seen in the thumbnail, I actually own the Daredevil Shadowlands premium format from Sideshow Collectibles as well. Now while this isn't necessarily taken directly from Shadowlands, I think she would pair great with him. And if you're wondering what Shadowlands is, that's a story where Daredevil is the main character, and there's a lot of offshoot stories, including Elektra, where he actually becomes possessed by a demon and does a lot of bad stuff, including killing Bullseye, and he wears a black costume. So as you probably saw, I also own the original red premium format Daredevil, which obviously I love because I have two of them, one variant of the Shadowlands and one regular. I'm very much wanting the Iron Studios Daredevil. I'm on the wait list, so I'm hoping that it converts. If that happens, I'll sell the red version of the Sideshow Daredevil, and then I'll be able to display her with the Sideshow Premium Format Shadowlands and the Iron Studios Daredevil piece, along next to Punisher, Ghost Rider, Kingpin, and some other characters that are commonly in these stories. And it's kind of ironic that I received her right now because I am watching Daredevil on Netflix. I've never watched it before, and I'm in season 2, and 2 days ago, Elektra was actually introduced, right before I was about to get this statue. So today we're going to do an in-depth review of this. I'm going to show you where to get some pictures of her sitting next to some of those other pieces we talked about. We'll talk about how similar this is to the original. We're going to do some close-ups of paint, sculpt, and that ass. Now what I love about this piece is it ties really well with almost any Daredevil statue, but specifically with that Sideshow premium format. And the reason for that is look at the base. So you have a rooftop, and it's probably of a cathedral. We say that because there's some gargoyles on there, there's some stained glass. I like how this is the top of it. That was a common fight scene for Elektra and Daredevil, and as you guys know, sometimes they fought together, sometimes they fought against each other, but she is standing on the roof of this in what I would call a model runway walk. Very sultry, very sexy. Her uniform's a little far too revealing for what I would wear if I was fighting crime, but I wouldn't look as good as she does in it. She's in her black outfit. Her outfit is a mix of some of that sexy, sultry stuff I said, and a little bit of like body armor type stuff. It appears she really wants to protect some parts of her body, and then she wants to distract people with some of her other parts of her body. But she is holding her classic weapon, which is the katanas or the sais, looking very confident. As I said, it's almost like she's in a walking motion. There's a few different display options we're going to look at, mostly to do with her outfit and the way she's focusing. It's only one portrait, which I appreciate. You can tell there's a little bit of wind, which generally there would be on the top of the roof. Her costume is flowing, her hair is flowing, and as I said, she's very confident. I like it a lot. This is what I would still classify as a museum pose, so kind of like she's posing for a picture, even though there is a little bit of dynamic action to the piece. So concept, I think it's great. They stuck to her origin. You know, it's rare you would want just an Elektra piece, not a Daredevil piece, so it pairs really well, but yet it's still a good standalone piece. I think the concept's a 4 out of 5. The reason why it's not a 5 out of 5 is it doesn't absolutely wow me. The design is very similar. It doesn't absolutely wow me, but it's done pretty well. So let's start off with the unboxing and assembly of it. It was a very small box, which is nice because I really need more room for boxes. Here's the interior art box. I believe it's probably the same one they used on the original version. Standard Sideshow white foam. It was 1 layer, covered in wax pieces. A few more pieces than I expected, but it helps eliminate the seam lines, which we'll look at. And let's measure her. So the widest point, now this is a little difficult because you don't really know what the front is, but we'll say this is the widest point, is about 13 inches. And then if you said the deepest point of the base is only about 5 inches, and then her arm sticks out about another 8 or 9. And then the tallest point is 23 inches. So what I love about this is a very tiny footprint. As statue collectors, spaces and boxes are our enemy. So it's pretty cool that it'll fit really well next to Daredevil. If you want to see what she looks like next to Daredevil, check out the Extreme Channel Instagram, Facebook, and now TikTok. I said there's some switch outs. There's 2 options. So first, her sash at the side, I guess that's what you'd call this. It could be hanging down, flowing a little bit, or it can be really flowing. I prefer the first one because she's not really moving that much. Now the other one is her right arm can be hanging down to the side, and initially I was positive this is what I would display. However, the other option is where she's kind of pointing it at somebody or something, and I really like this. I think it looks really good with the statue. That's it. No other display options, but I don't really think there needs to be. How they did the switch outs for her arm is pretty ingenious. You actually replace her whole shoulder, and where her costume is where the seam lines are, so you can't see any seam lines. So I think the design, just like the concept's a 4 out of 5. It's done really well. Nothing I would really change. Now let's dive into the paint and sculpt. And you know, Sideshow is known really well for female portraits. While I don't think this is one of the best ones they've done, it's not bad. So let's take a look at that and everything else. So let's start on that portrait. First, she does have the cap above, and you see a few creases and wrinkles in that. And you're going to see it in the clothes as well, but it's very plain. Her bangs are pressed down. Now her bangs look interesting. It almost looks like it's just a weird haircut. It just really is. However, the rest of her hair flows nice. It's very full, a lot of volume to it. Like I said, I kind of like that flow, how it's going. Now looking at her closely, the paint job on the portrait I like a lot. The detail around the eyes is done very well. That deep red lipstick. Now I understand this is not a real person, but I'm definitely a guy that likes that kind of deep red lipstick. Her earrings here are what I would consider mixed media. They move a little bit, but overall the portrait looks very nice. Very, smaller nose, feminine features. I don't know if I can say that because it's 2021. Personable features. And let's talk about her skin color for a second. Kind of hard to tell under these bright lights, but she does have a very tan skin color, which when she's next to Daredevil, he's pretty much covered other than his face, so you really won't be able to tell. But they do have some shading in there where the muscles are, and I like that a lot. I think that's done well. Regarding the sculpt of her anatomy, it looks good. They gave her a big ass. Her chest is armored right here. And you see that armor, and I like that, how there's different texture, surface, and it looks a little bit more shiny. So they varied the black up quite a bit, not only with the layers on it, but some of the almost blue-gray seam lines you see here. It looks good. I think they did a nice job. You know, it always interested me, like, why do you have something tied right here on your arm? But she does. That is fully sculpted. I would almost worry about breaking purposes, but it's kind of this soft resin material. We'll see a defect right there. Yeah, not a big deal. It almost looks like there's screws holding up her super bra there. So she has this arm covering here for assumably using a bow and arrow, which is not really her weapon of choice, but for fighting up close. This one goes up a little bit higher than the other hand. The other hand is just the gauntlet and the gloves. Now the size are sculpted. I think they're resin. They're definitely not metal. That would have been nice to have metal katanas or size. I like the size of them. I like these pieces flowing. Like I said, it kind of tells that story that she is on a rooftop. I think it really helps to it. Here's another picture of her gauntlet and kind of the straps and just additional armored pieces on there. And you see that on her boots below. Very heavily armored boots. Like I said, obviously she cares about protecting these areas, but not these areas. But these are the areas that she fights the enemy with, so it does make a little bit of sense. Like I said, I really like kind of that combo padding armored boot. You see some screws in there as well. Now the base, I don't like it as much as Daredevil's. I like the shape, I like the concept of it. I love this stained glass part down here. It's really well done. I like the colors. It helps the statue pop. The rest of it, there's not as much detailed work in it, like especially when you come over here. And look at the gargoyles. Like this one's broken. I like where it is broken. This whole side's like that. But this one's complete. Looks kind of weird. This tiny little baby gargoyle. You'll have to forgive me. The arm is stuck to my watch over here. I'm trying to get it off without breaking it with one hand. But there's some bricklayering in there. It looks okay. Like I said, not as good as Daredevil's base. The colors do look good on it. I'm still trying to, there we go. Man, I just couldn't get that off. So overall, very nice piece. Nothing extraordinary on the paint and sculpt, but I think Sideshow did a nice job. All right, paint and sculpt. First, let's look at the paint of it. There's not a lot to it. Her skin tone's nice. She's really, really tan. There's a lot of makeup, but the rest are kind of basic colors. So I think the paint's good. I think it's a 3 out of 5, almost a 4 out of 5. Reminder that 3 out of 5 is a good score. On the sculpt, I think they did a good job with the female anatomy. Clearly, they target men. Huge butt, big chest, but I love the base. I think there could have been a little bit more detail like we talked about. Sculpt, I'm going to give it the same score. I think it's a 3 out of 5, almost a 4 out of 5. So is this worth it? Now, generally, variants like this are. Usually they do really well for Sideshow, and they sell decent in the secondhand market. You can at least get your money back. So this cost a little under $600. They made 300 of the variant, while they made, I think, around 2,250 of the original, including both the regular and the exclusive. So with that being said, there's still 2,500 statues of Elektra out there, and I think XM Studios made one a long time ago that wasn't very popular. Now, she's not really a primary character. We didn't talk about a lot of her history in the comics, but she's not only mixed up with Daredevil, she's mixed up with Punisher, she's mixed up with Wolverine, she's mixed up with Red Hulk, she's mixed up with tons of different teams. And honestly, that kind of tells me she's not really that popular. She can't stand on her own. So she's not really sought after unless you're a Daredevil collector. I think I can get my money back because this is the variant. If this is the regular, I would say no. I would speculate the regular loses a little bit of value. I may be wrong, but I think the value ends up being a 3 out of 5 on this piece. So let's look at the final score. Does this have the Does this have the X factor? Is this a 5 out of 5 statue? No, it's not. It's really cool. I do like it a lot. It was an impulse buy for me because I knew that variants go out of stock very, very quickly. And like I said, I always wanted one to pair with my Daredevil. And I knew it didn't take up a huge footprint. So there are a lot of pros to this statue. But I think in the end, it's a good statue. It's a 3 out of 5. It's nothing amazing. It's probably the best Elektra out there, but there's not a lot of ties to Elektra unless you're a die-hard Daredevil fan. So today in the comments, throw down below, what do you think of variants? Are they good for the business, bad for the business? There's a lot of controversy behind that. Besides making that comment, please hit that like button on your way out. Check out some of these other videos, and if you haven't, punch me so you can subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification. And I don't know why I keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing it till the video stops.